Good morning to my maths group. It's the 25th of January and it's Monday. This week I've got one video to show you for the whole of the week, but it's quite long and there's quite a lot of things inside it. So what I'd like you to do is work through at your own pace, maybe spend 25 to 30 minutes every day and have a go at some of the questions. There's going to be some practicing your times tables as well. If you'd like to pause the video while you start and write down today's date and the learning intention. And I know that Miss Smith and other people in school are looking at books as well soon. So if you'd like to write down your learning intention and underline it neatly with a ruler, that'd be brilliant. Well done. Okay, all done. So this week we're going to be looking at multiplication and the inverse or the opposite of multiplication, which is division. We're not going to concentrate too much on division this week because really we're looking at multiplication, but sometimes the two things are so linked together that we'll try a couple of division questions as well. So we're looking at some key vocabulary here: times tables, multiply by, divide by, the word array we'll be using quite a lot, fact families, and regrouping. Here's a picture you might know. This is a picture of your times table square that you will often be using in school. And later on in this video, it might help you if you've got one of those to have a look at as well. There's 3 times tables here. We're going to be looking at the 3 times table a little bit and also the 4 times table. I'm going to leave the 8 times table for now because it's a little bit more tricky. And we're going to be looking at some arrays, and those you can see just down here at the bottom. So that's what an array looks like. It's rows or groups of counters arranged to show a multiplication fact. And like I said, there's a lot of information in this presentation. So watch a bit each day and then go and try some questions. I don't mind if you don't get through all of it. The most important thing will be this week is to learn some of those times table facts. Really good idea to practice your times tables is to use your TT Rockstars, maybe for about 15 to 20, 25 minutes a day. And the links on the school website will help you get better at them as well. But the main thing is, and I'll repeat this a bit later on, is to make sure you learn them. You can play as many games as you like, but if you're not learning them at the same time, you're not going to get any better. So our star words for today, we've got divide by, fact families, regrouping, array, lots of, multiply by, and times tables. We're going to be looking at the basics of multiplication and division, how we group objects and numbers together to show multiplication, and how we use arrays to represent multiplication and division number sentences. Now, I'm going to be using counters in school, and I'm going to be using counters on the screen as well, just like the ones you can see there. There are things you can use at home to help you. I'll show you that in just a minute. First of all, let's look at what the word array means. And you'll have done this before, you'll have seen this earlier on in school. Here's the calculation: 5 times 3 shown as an array. 5 counters along here and 3 rows of 5 counters. 5 times 3, 15. And this picture here, with the counters laid out like that, is what we call an array. And it's just to help you show you what we're doing when we times 5 by 3. 5 times 3, 5, 5, 5 more, that's 15 altogether. 5 times 3. Here's what I could find at home. Here's the same array down here, 5 times 3, and I've used some pasta shells because that's why I had lots of those. So I've got 5 groups of 3 here. Same thing, 3 groups of 5, that's 15 as well. And here it is again shown as an array. Here's my picture of my array again. And here are the 2 multiplication sentences I can write down. 3 times 5 equals 15, and 5 times 3 equals 15. And what we're going to try and get away from today is counting every individual shell. If we know our times tables, these are facts that we need to know. And I told you we'd quickly look at division as well. Because I know that 3 times 5 is 15, I also know that 15 divided by 5 will be 3. 3 groups of 5. And 15 divided by 3, divided into 3s, will be give me 5 groups. I'll leave you just a minute to have a look at that again. It's really important you're clear on what we're doing here. Okay. And when you've had to solve these kind of problems in school, your teacher will have given you one of these multiplication squares. These are helpful, but if you get to rely on them too much, you're not learning the facts that you need to know. If you keep having to look at your times table square, you're not gonna learn the times tables at all. And it is really, really important for your mental maths and for lots of other things you do in maths as you go into next year, that you know the facts from your times table. So here you can see my array. I've got 5 times 3, which is 15. But I shouldn't need to be looking at that times table square. That's a fact I should actually know. I should be able to say 8 times 3, straight away 24, without looking at that times table square. It's really important you learn these times tables. So much of your maths learning in the next few years will depend on you knowing them and be able to come up with them really quickly off the top of your head. So our first learning intention today, we're going to start really, really simple. And I might be starting a bit too simple for you, but bear with me because I'm trying to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. So before we look at simple multiplication, we're going to practice making equal groups. Let's look at how many ways we can make equal groups using the number 20. So here I've got a picture of 20 stars. And if you've got pasta shapes at home, or pencils, or rubbers, or stickers, or anything you like, you can see if you can get 20 of them together into a big group like that as well. Now I've managed to group my 20 stars 3 different ways. I've got one group of 20 in an array. 1 times 20 is 20, and 20 times 1 is 20. There's my first fact from my times tables. Then I've split them in 2. I've got 2 groups of 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. 2 times 10 equals 20. 10 times 2 equals 20. And here I've grouped them into 4 groups. 4 groups of 5. 4 times 5 is 20. 5 times 4 is 20. The groups each time need to be equal. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video now and use your own counters or whatever you're using to try and make equal groups using these numbers. And each time you make a group, write down your number sentences. The first one, you think back to my pasta shells, is the one I did to begin with, 15. 3 times 5 equals 15. 5 times 3 equals 15. Remember, your groups need to be equal, and you might want to pause the video now. Now, just like before, I'm writing using my mouse pad, so if my writing's terrible, I do apologise. So 3 times 5 equals 15, that's the first one. 3 times 5 equals 15. And remember, I can also have 1 times 15. Equals 15 as well. Now you might want to pause the video again and get yourself a pen ready to mark your answers. I'm not going to try and write them because I'm terrible trying to use this pen with the mouse pad. So I'm going to tell you what the answers are. So for question 2, I can have 1 times 21. One group of 21 equals 21. 1 times 21 equals 21. But I can also group into groups of 3. 3 times 7 equals 21. Or 7 times 3 equals 21. For question 3, there's lots of different ways I can do this. I can do 1 times 36 equals 36. I can do 6 times 6 equals 36. I can do 3 times 12 equals 36. Or I can do 2 times 18 equals 36. 40. Well, 1 times 40. 2 times 20. 4 times 10. 5 times 8. And I've lost track now. See if you've got any more written down and see if they make sure they work. For 18, 1 times 18. 2 times 9. 3 times 6. And for 24, 1 times 24. 2 times 12. 4 times 6. Or 8 times 3. Did you manage to get them all? Let's look at the number 20. 4 groups of 5 shown there. 4 times 5 is 20, and 5 times 4 is 20. Now we're going to try and be quite brainy and use a posh maths words. So 4 times 5 or 5 times 4, it doesn't matter. We always get the same answer. So it doesn't matter which way round you place your numbers here in your multiplication problem. This is called the commutative law of multiplication, that it doesn't matter which way round these numbers go. And if you remember from years 3, 4 and 5, these numbers that multiply together to give you your answer are also the factors of that number. So 20 has the factors 4 and 5. But we're not looking at factors today, so we're going to move on. While you're looking at the arrays, think about sharing. 20 stars divided by 1. 20 shared by one person, if you like. So if you divide 20 by 1, what do you get? If you divide 20 by 2, or half of 20, what do you get? And what do you get if you divide 20 by 4, or by 5? Remember, it's the opposite to multiplication. See if you can work that out. You might want to pause the video, because I'm about to show you the answers. So 20 divided by 1, one group of 20 is 20. 20 divided by 2, or half of 20, is 10. 20 shared by 4 is 5, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. If you're a little unsure about the division, don't worry, that's not our main focus for today. Our main focus, remember, was to put things into equal groups. Okay, let's have a look at a question about what we've learned. Complete the sentences to describe the equal groups. Here's your sentences. Okay, we've got 3 groups of 6 here. 6, I'm going to try and use the pen again, plus 6, plus 6, making 18. 3 groups of 6. 3 times 6 equals 18. There are 3 equal groups with 6 in each group. There are 3 6s. And here's a couple for you to try. 3 equal groups with 2 in each group. First thing to do is draw it. 3 equal groups. 1, 2, 3. 2 in each group. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So here I've got 3, 2 plus 2 plus 2. If I'm doing addition, 2 add 2 add 2 equals 6. Or as a multiplication, 3 times 2 equals 6. And I'm very sorry about my messy writing. I'm trying my best. See if you can complete the second part of the question. And here are some more questions for you to practice today. Complete the statement below. There are how many equal groups of how many? And if you work your way through that, brilliant. Okay, and if you want to pause the video while you complete those questions, that's perfect. And then we're going to move on. Let's have a look at a couple more questions to do with the same idea of grouping. Mrs. Jones asks Seth to sort 15 donuts into equal groups. He sorts them into the groups below. 4 donuts, 4 donuts, 4 donuts, and 3 donuts. Explain and correct this mistake that Seth has made. Well, 15 won't divide into 4 groups because 4 is not a factor of 15. So what Seth's done wrong here is he's got unequal groups. The groups of donuts are not equal. Can you correct the mistake he's made? Well, I know, because I know my times tables, that 3 times 5 is 15. So I could have 3 groups of 5. Or 5 groups of 3. Sort the notebooks into equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 16 notebooks. 8 plus 16 is 24. How could you sort those notebooks into equal groups? And here we've got a question about money. Which row of money is the odd one out? Here I've got 3 groups of 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Here I've got 3 groups of 4 because I've got 2 pences there. 3 times 4 is 12. And here I've got 3 groups of 5. 5, 5, 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So this group is the odd one out. Okay, hopefully you've kept up with me so far, and I'm going to look at learning intention number 2, using our times table knowledge to solve problems. Now, because you do not know your times tables that well, or you might think you do, but you probably don't, we might need a times table square. You'll need to be able to see one. And I'll be putting one up on the screen from time to time to help you out as well. If you're in school looking at this presentation, if you're working in my group in school, then I can certainly find one for you. Hopefully you might have something like this at home. Maybe you might be able to print one. Do let me know if you need me to get you another copy. Okay. Do you know why the times table square stops at 10 or sometimes 12? Any ideas? Why does it only go up to 10 times 10? Well, the reason is that we only really need to know that many times tables or to learn that many by heart, because once we know those ones, we can use those times table facts to apply to other bigger problems. And if we tried to learn, I don't know, 13 times 22 times table, then our brains might explode. It would be too much to try and do. I'd like you to practice a times table you don't know well. You should really know your 2s, 5s and 10s already. But if I asked you what 8 times 2 was and you're still counting on your fingers, you do need to go away and learn it properly. Let's have a look at the 2 times table to start with. Once you know the 2 and 3 times table, you can work out the 4, 6 and 8 times and 9 times table as well. Have a look at the numbers in the 2 times table here. What patterns can you see? 2, 4, 6. I'm going to look at the ones column. 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. There is a pattern in the ones column there. And you'll be quite familiar with counting up in 2s right from when you were in Key Stage 1. And if you're asked in school, you'll probably say, yes, I know my 2 times table. Let's have a look at this. I've got 2 arrays here. I've used some hexagons this time instead. I've got 2 times 4, shown in 2 different ways. And if you know 1 times table fact, if I know that 2 times 4 is 8, I can work out 3 others. If 2 times 4 is 8, then 4 times 2 is 8 as well, because of the commutative law of multiplication. I also know 2 division facts. I know that 8 shared by 2 will be 4, and 8 shared by 4 will be 2. And in my maths group, I've shown you how to write that down in a triangle to help you with your calculations. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And I asked you before if you really know your 2 times table. Pause the video and see how many of these questions you can answer in 2 minutes. And this is what we mean when we say about really knowing a times table. If you know your 2 times table really well, you should be able to answer those questions really quickly. I'll give you a few of the trickier answers. I know that 2 times 11 is 22, so 22 shared by 2 is 11. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 16 divided by 2 is 8. I know that because I know that 2 times 8 is 16, because I know my 2 times table. How did you get on? I did say that this week I'd really like you to practice your times table. There are hundreds and probably millions of games that you can play online to help you get quicker at your times tables. But really, the best way to learn them is just to do focus on 1 times table at a time. Like we just looked at the 2 times table, know those facts. So if I was to ask you what 9 times 2 was, you could tell me straight away. If you know your 3 times table, if I said to you what's 7 times 3, you'd be able to tell me straight away, like that. That's what we want to work on this week. Here's a couple of tips. Write the times table down. Write down 1 times 2 equals 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. Look for patterns in the times table. Ask a grown-up to explain how they remember it. There's lots and lots of tricks you can use. You might have come across a trick with your fingers in your 9 times table, knowing how to do the 9 times table. You might know that your 4 times table is just doubling your 2 times table. But practice, practice, practice. You can use your knowledge to quickly, mentally calculate other facts. Let's try and, I want you to pause the video for a minute and see how you'd work out these 3 questions. And there's a couple of little tips on the board. Now, I know that 2 times 8 is 16. And I know that because I know my 2 times table. 2 times 8 is 16. But here I've got 2 times 80. 80 is 10 times as much. But using my knowledge of my times table facts, I know that 2 times 80 will be 10 times as much as 2 times 8, which is 100. Sorry about my messy writing again, 160. So look at this second one, 13 times 3. 13 times 3 is way off my times table square, but I know what 10 times 3 is. That's as big as I can go. 10 times 3, and that's 30. And I also know what 3 times 3 is, because I know my 3 times table. 3 times 3 is 9. So 10 times 3 plus 3 times 3 will give me 13 times 3. 30 plus 9 is 39. See how I used what I already know to work out the answer? 160 divided by 4, I don't know, but I do know what 16 divided by 4 is because I know my 4 times table. And 16 shared into 4s is 4. So 160 divided by 4 is going to be 40. And here I've got some Dean's blocks to show you. So here's 16 lots of 10, which is 160. And I'm going to group them into equal groups. Let's hope I've put enough there. Yes, I have. Equal groups of 4. 160 divided by 4 is 40. Pause the video again and have a look at these questions. And I shall give you the answers in just a moment. Let's look at this one first. Jane has 5 packs of pencils. Each pack contains 3 pencils. How many pencils are there all together? 5 packs, 3 pencils, 5 times 3. I know straight away that that's 15. And I know that because I've learned my 5 and my 3 times tables. If you didn't know how to answer that question, 5 packs of 3 pencils, picture them sitting on a table. You might want to draw a diagram to help you work that out. Henry has 3 packs of 6 cupcakes. There are 15 friends coming to his party. Henry says, I have enough cupcakes for every friend to have one. Is he correct? And explain how you know. 3 packs of 6 cupcakes is 3 times 6 cupcakes. 3 times 6 is 18. He has 15 friends coming to his party. So 18 cupcakes is enough for everyone to have one and for Henry to have one as well. True or false? 9 groups of 3 is 30. Well, you could count them. But I know that 9 times 3 is 27 because I know my times tables. See how much quicker I can answer that question if I know my times table facts. It's false. The balloons have been sorted into groups of 3. Complete the statement. How many lots of 3 is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 lots of 3. 7 lots of 3. I know what 7 times 3 is. It's 21. But if I wasn't sure, I could count the balloons. 3, add 3, add 3, add 3, add 3, add 3. What have we got there? We've got 8 threes. Here we've got 4 threes. And here we've got 9 threes. Sorry, it took me a while, that one, because I had to work out what they were doing, but it's counting the leaves. Okay, true or false? 8 groups of 3 is 24. That's true. I might not know my 8 times table yet, but I do know my 3 times table. 3 times 8, 24. Remember, doesn't matter which way around we do this. The coins have been sorted into groups of 3. Complete the statement. How many lots of 3 are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 lots of 3. And we do know our 10 times table is 30. I didn't fill it in the box because I can't write properly with the pen. Match the representation to the multiplication. Each of these flowers has 3 petals. There we go. Okay, here's my third learning intention for this week: to multiply larger numbers using a standard method. When we need to multiply larger numbers, we need to use a written method. We'll still need to use our times tables knowledge to help us do this. So we still need to know our times table facts to multiply those larger numbers. Let me show you what I mean. Let's have a look at 23 times 2. Now, even if you know your 2 times table, you might not know what 23 times 2 is, so we're going to start using a standard written method for multiplication. I always start in my ones column. And I want you to watch very carefully what I'm doing. If you already know this, that's brilliant. You'll be able to answer questions straight away. If you're still struggling a little bit with this, have a look at what I'm doing. I'm going to start with the ones column here. 2 times 3 is 6. And now I'm moving into my tens. And what I'm doing here is 2 times 20. That's what I'm really doing, because this 2 here represents 20, 2 tens. But I'm going to say 2 times 2 tens is 4 tens, 46. And here's that shown with some deans to show you exactly what I've done. Can you see how I'm doubling? 2 lots of 3 are 6, and 2 lots of 2 tens, 4 tens, 46. It's a little bit more tricky with this question. 3 times 5. I can almost hear you counting on your fingers. 3 times 5 is 15. That's 1 10 and 5 ones. So I'm going to put the 5 in there, 5 ones and 1 10 underneath to remind me. Then 3 times 30, or 3 times 3 tens, it's 9 tens. But I've got to add the 1, that's 10 tens. So my 0 goes in the tens column, and my 1, because I've got 10 tens is 100, goes in there. 105. And this method stays the same no matter how big your numbers get. So I'm going to do one more. I start in my ones column, then move to my tens column, and then into my hundreds column. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 5 tens is 20 tens. And 4 times 200 is 800 plus a 2, 900, 1,000. 1,008. Now, if you got stuck here and here, don't worry too much about that. That's the very last part of my lessons for this week. I'd much rather, if you're getting stuck, that you go back and you practice those times tables. Go on to TT Rockstars, have a look at the questions on Mathletics. If you're quite happy with this, try some more questions using numbers like this, using written multiplication. If you're writing any written multiplication in your book, it's really important that you keep to your hundreds, tens and ones columns and use a ruler. And although your teachers are nagging you to use rulers for questions like this and make sure each number goes in each square, there's a reason for that. As the numbers get much bigger, you can get confused and you can make silly little mistakes and get the wrong answers. And remember, in maths, there's no such thing as a nearly answer. They've got to be right or wrong. And that's me done for this week. I don't want to give you any more questions to do from here. I'm going to ask you to go on to TT Rockstars, practice those times tables. Print out a copy of a times table square. Learn one times table at a time. Keep practicing. Start with the 2s, the 5s and the 10s. Make sure you know them really, really well so that you can be asked any multiplication or division question about them and get it right. If you get your 2s, 5s and 10s, move on to the ones you're not sure about. Try the 3s, try the 4s. If you already know those ones, move on. Try and learn your 6s, your 7s. Okay, well done. Have a really, really good week. If you've got any questions, you can always send me an email. Take care. Bye-bye.